You can be as judgmental as you like. But yes, that is 2 pairs of vice grips. That is exactly how I managed to get this van on here, by crimping off the 2 that exploded and driving it on with 1 line. They say that necessity is the mother of shut up and get it done. So we need Van-Haulen on the road, because my automatic transmission Ford Ranger did the Ford Ranger thing. Hit 180,000 miles, goodbye 3rd gear. Automatic Ford Ranger problems. So, we need to do brakes. First of all, we have a pad on the back here that decided to do its own thing. The interesting thing here is this is old. That is brand new. So A Premium got a hold of us in order to send us some pads for this project. So we're going to try these. I'm not knocking anybody, but the first time I opened this box, I literally didn't even bother trying to look inside. I ran it out of my house and put it on the front porch for 3 days. I don't know what is going on, but these smell like rotten fish that's been like stuffed in the trunk of a car for 3 weeks. So they're airing out right now. And it gets on your fingers and everything. But anyways, moving on. So we've got our Kymo ratchet, we've got our metric stuff, we've got brake line bender that I borrowed from a friend, another version of bender that I borrowed. We have our MASTERCOOL set that I absolutely love. This without question, this is worth every bit of investment. Even if you only do brakes once a year, this thing is worth it, because it comes in handy for tons of other stuff also. Except for you can't close it without 2 hands, because every time you lift one, it closes the other. We've got spring ball bleeders, because I work by myself. Hopefully these are the right size. We've got some copper coil kit, whatever you want to call it, nickel copper. There we go. We've got the random fittings that came with it, except for all of these are SAE, so they probably won't do us any good. So we've got a random assortment of metric keys that we can use here. I also find it interesting that apparently in China, brass or bronze translates to orange. I always find that interesting. And we have some of these, we don't talk about them, because on all of these Fords, they have these. We've got some flexes here, and then they snap this, and they snap this, and then up above here where this flexi is, up above there ends up rusting and snapping off. And so this drove onto here with multiple sets of vice grips clamping off the brakes, and only, I think it's the front passenger side caliper working. Which is the reason why once the van made it onto here, it stayed here for months, because I spun both of these rear tires because of no brake fluid, because automatic transmission life, as it was coming up on here, and was not a very safe scenario. I like it. On a good news side, that popped right off nice and easy. That's why I like this style of caliper and setup. And it looks as if the stinky fish pads are going to be correct. So providing that they fit, I will post a link for these in the description in case anybody else needs some stinky fish pads. And we'll do the other side. The other side actually looks like the pads are newer in it, along with that new caliper, but just in case, we're going to swap in pads that are the same age, just to start fresh. Having my lift outside when I'm working on a bunch of body repair and rust and painting underneath and all that kind of stuff is great. but it does come with one quibble. See that toad? I have to fish them out of these legs every time I go to put the unit down, or else I hear a really not cool squishy squeak when it hits the ground. I got one for the internet commenting gurus down there. Does anybody make a brake press for this style of Ford caliper that has this dumb thumb in the center? Because I've never seen one, so therefore I do the old brake pad with a giant C-clamp trick. But if somebody actually makes the correct tool, can you post a comment down below on what it is? Ever wonder what a 9mm socket is for? It's so you can take a hammer and an adapter you don't care about and drive it down onto a 3/8 bleeder in order to remove it. That is why you keep a 9mm around. PSA on these quick jack assemblies, because a lot of people bought these because they saw them in my videos, and I want to warn you, always make sure this safety is down when you walk away, because we had this high enough to get those off, and that was 2 hours ago. Always make sure to put that safety on. This jack's only like 3 years old and it's already losing pressure when it sits. So they're great, but be careful. And this is my new 20-ton Vever Big Kahune. I love this thing. Is it slow? Yes. Will it lift everything I want it to? Very yes. Alright, you get the idea. It is very slow, but it lifts everything. There we go. A few lovable moments and some WD-40 liberally added. And you can see that that pad has plenty of life in it, but it just plain had rusted itself right solid to the rotor. Now it turns, and we should be good to go. So now we can get into that menagerie of hell. Interesting, there's fresh liquid coming out of that, so that must be the one that goes to the rear line from when I compress the caliper. You can be as judgmental as you like, but yes, that is 2 pairs of vice grips. That is exactly how I managed to get this van on here, by crimping off the 2 that exploded and driving it on with 1 line. So now we need to undo that one and then undo that one and see what we can do about figuring out where those lines go. So this is going to be one of those purgatorial up and down, up and down, up and down. So we've got this, and we've got this off, and we can get to the lines pretty easily just in underneath the cab. We'll go take a look in there. Well now, to give you an idea of my purgatorial hell, that yellow is 1 pair of vice grips. That's the engine mount. There's the frame rail coming down through. There's the fuel line stuff under the transmission area, and that goes to the rear brake line. So somehow we got to go from there to the front and fix that, along with the other line that exploded. Okay, tomorrow morning me that needs coffee. This one goes to the rear. This one goes to the passenger side front. This one goes to the driver's side front. Rear, passenger, driver's side. Have your coffee. Well now, I was not expecting it to be 9/16 and 5/8 for the ABS nuts coming out. I was expecting this to be entirely metric on a van of this age. Either way, we're going to undo one line at a time. We're going to try and fabricate lines that go down through. I don't think I'm going to try and go right directly to the frame rail and back like these did. I think what we're going to do is run across the back side of the shock strut tower thing. The reason being is because I can find records of these vans at sub 100,000 miles rotting out the brake line setup right there on a regular basis. So I think it's a design defect, and we're going to reroute it up higher so that hopefully it doesn't accumulate caca and rust out again while we're doing this. Well, I don't know how in the world Ford engineers thought that you were going to be able to get in there. I moved this cable here, I moved this cable here, I pushed that brake line up. I just could not get to that. So I sliced it, grabbed some pliers, bent it over, and we undid it. One line down. 2 more to go. Managed to sort out and have disconnected that one, and now this one. So this is driver side front, this is passenger side front, this is to the rear. Interesting side note, that is for some reason a 3/4 instead of the same as these two. So this is still 9/16, but that bugger there is a 3/4 for some reason. You can have all the cool toys in the world, but if you're a dummy and do it in the wrong order, it doesn't matter. That's a very nice single flare, but that's not what we're after right now. Okay, so we've got our blocks here, and we're going to take our blocks, we're going to drop them in. We're going to put this into here, and we're going to flip this down and push it all the way up against the blocks and push the pipe all the way in till it hits that. Now we're going to tighten this up. Whoops, took the end cap off of there. Okay, we flip that back up and we check that that is level with the end of it. Now what we do is we take this one with the weird little nub piece and we drop the weird little nub in and we rotate this until we're there. Okay. Now you make sure that this is all the way closed and begin to compress. Now the one thing you can't translate in video is that you have to kind of feel for when the compression changes. And you'll feel it in the pump, it just all of a sudden right there. See, I didn't even make a full pump, you got to feel for it first. So now we open this up, and then we unscrew it just a little bit. We pop this up using our finger from the bottom. We take our cone and we undo it enough to drop the cone in. There we go. Screw that down. And yet again, this is going to be one of those cases where you close this and you pump it until you feel the difference. Right there. All of a sudden I can't go anymore. We don't force it because otherwise you'll blow the line. We open this, close it back up so it doesn't leak when we store it. Undo that. Undo, sorry to bump you guys, undo that and lift it straight up. And there is our flare, all nice and pretty. So here's the factory flare in order to compare to. And that is why it is that you pay hundreds of dollars. And if you've never seen one of these, they're kind of counterintuitive. So you want these on the opposite side of where you're trying to bend it to on the 90 degree. So it's got a 3/16 and 1/4 side. And now we just push it down. And there's our 90-degree angle. So it's a little on the counterintuitive side, but that's how this style of tool works. I'm sorry I didn't shoot very much footage, but what you can see around me right now is we got 5 days worth of thunderstorm rolling in. So I'm running like hell to try and get this done. I want the van to be able to drive off here so that we can get it underneath the big tent and then start doing the welding in the rain, because I need this thing done. Oh yeah, that is very squishy. But it does seem to actually stop when it hits the bottom. So, it's holding pressure. I don't hear any seeping. But then again, the ABS isn't on yet, so let's piss it off. Oh yeah, right through the floor. But we knew that anyway. We're gonna have air all through the system. But we're gonna pump it a couple of dozen times, let it pressurize a few things. Okay, I'll pop open one of the self-bleeders. Well, the good news is we didn't lose any brake fluid whatsoever, so yeah, there's air in the line, but it's not leaking. So I still need to drive a 9mm onto the other side so I can bleed that. But if we can get 3 sides working at least, I'll call it good for today. Yeah, we ended up building pressure because that was free rolling before. Oh yeah, that's definitely building pressure. Alright, here we go. And I'll make sure to include a link for these. I found these on Amazon. They're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they work really good, and other times they're a right royal waste of time. Yep, there we go. Oops. Help if I went the right way to tighten it, wouldn't it? ABS light would not go away. I hate computers. Well, it could be that it's just covered in a bunch of rust. Or it could be that it failed. Or it could be that in all the monkeying around, the wiring got knocked loose. But I'm not going to deal with that today.